Hey everybody, my name is Mike Smuts, everybody's favorite real estate agent here for the Lehigh Valley. Today I have a special episode with you guys. I have a local lender that I'm sure you've heard her name, Michelle Whalmark with Movement Mortgage. She's going to come on today and talk about a couple different loan packages that are important to help buyers win in today's market. So real quick, Michelle, I'm sure most people have heard your name if they're in this area, but introduce yourself. Why are you somebody that we should listen to today?
Well, hi everyone, and thank you, Mike, for having me on this today. I've been in the mortgage business for 30 plus years. So I've seen many different turn of events that happen throughout the housing market over the last so many years. I've seen many presidential elections that affect the housing market as well. So I've seen quite a few things. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and I've been through 2005, 2006 and survived. And here we are now after 2020.
And all I got is this lousy T-shirt. No, so yeah, you're very knowledgeable. You've been in, you said mortgage for 30 years?
Yes.
Oh wow, I knew you've been in it for a while, but I didn't realize that. What did you get in when you were like 12, 13?
Yeah, I wish. Yep, right after college.
Yeah. So the turn of events with what's been happening, obviously we're seeing some higher interest rates that are causing people to want to wait off, right? So what are some of those programs you talk about that can help buyers get the house they want at a price they like?
Well, if you have any first time home buyers, Mike, there
Yeah.
are plenty of first time home buyer programs out there. Some of them offer lower interest rates. Some of them offer assistance for their down payment and or closing costs. Some of them do have income limits. Some have limit is only by the income that they're using to qualify. So there's a lot out there. Some of them are with 0% down, 3% down, 3.5% down. So these buyers don't necessarily have to go, oh, I don't have $50,000 in the bank. That's okay. There are assistance programs out there. Now, some of them do require certain credit scores. The city of Bethlehem has a great program. There is no credit score. They do have an income limit, but they'll assist you with 10% down and pay for your closing costs. So that's a pretty good program.
10% down and they'll pay for your closing costs. So that's in the city of Bethlehem only right now, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So it can't not necessarily be a Bethlehem zip code. It has to be the city of Bethlehem.
Yeah. Well, that's a one really good reason to talk to a knowledgeable local lender like yourself, Michelle, because you go on. Not gonna point any specific names, but these big corporations and these online lenders, they don't know this stuff. They can't
Wow.
guide
Yeah.
you into making those decisions because there's so many different ones. I couldn't name them all off the top of my head.
Right. I mean, Pennsylvania has their own, the PHFA programs, which, are amazing. But you're right. A lot of online lenders, they're only offering cookie cutter loans. And if you don't fall into one of those, they're not going to go above and beyond an offer such as the Bethlehem grant or a PHFA loan because they're just sitting there taking phone calls, from everybody and anybody that's calling in from every state.
Well, they actually, not all of them, but there are some. You got to be careful. There are some that get tracked on the amount of applications and amount of pre-approvals they put out, not the amount of closings. So they have a big incentive to just pump them out. Here's a simple one. Here you go. Like kind of thing. Get that out of the way. So that's for first time home buyers. There's lots of good opportunities. What about right now? Obviously, it's going to change probably even by the time this this recording goes out, this episode airs. But like, what's just for so we have numbers to work with? What's like roughly the very rough numbers the interest rate currently that you're
Current
seeing?
interest, I would say between 6 and 6.5,
Okay, so
and that's 30-year fixed rate.
30-year, and I know as well as you do over 30 years that's even below average that we've seen in the valley. But in regards of what we just saw, the 2.5, 3%, that's high for some people. So a lot of people are finding it hard to make their monthly budget work. So do you have any programs that help people in that sort of realm?
I mean, but do you believe it, Mike? I think it was only maybe 2, 3 months ago, interest rates were really getting close to 8%. They were up to
Mm-hmm.
7, 7.5, starting to teeter it a little bit closer to that 8%. So, now that we're in the low sixes,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's not that bad, and I do think we're gonna see them start to drop a little bit probably halfway through this year. They're gonna
Yeah.
start to drop, but in the meantime, yes, there are different programs out there, such as the buy down that you suggested, and the way that works, and I'm just gonna start off with a 2-1 buy down. So let's say today's rate was 6%. So your first year would drop it to 2%. It would drop 2%. So it would start at 4%. Your second year would be at 5%. And then from three on would be 6%. And I think that helps people just get into the house and make it a little bit easier for them. Now, there is a cost to do the buy down. It's not just free, but sometimes you can get the seller to help pay for that closing cost. You don't have to, but the seller doesn't have to pay it either. But there is a cost. But that is a good program. There's also a 3-3-2-1 buy down. And so you would actually, if your current rate is 6%, you would actually start at 3% the first year, 4% the second year, 5% the third year, and then you'd hit that 6%. And some people are looking at that just because they do know the interest rates. We do foresee that they're going to drop. We just don't know how low.
Mm-hmm.
And then what people are doing is then when they do eventually drop, they'll refinance. So if they did a 3-2-1 buy down, they're starting at the three. So maybe by the time they get into the fours, they refinance because the interest rates may actually get, into the fives or the high fours. Then they're going to take advantage and refinance, not to get too, particular into different programs. But on a buy down, you actually could get part of that money that you paid to get the discount in that buy down. You get part of that back if you don't use it all.
Hmm.
So on a 3-2-1 buy down, I'm just using easy numbers because it goes
Yeah.
off the sale price and the interest rates and everything. But if let's say you paid $10,000 to get into it, and, by the time you started at a 3% and when it got into the fours, at the 4%, you refinanced. Well, if you only used, let's just say, $4,000 of that money, you would actually get the $6,000 back at closing,
Really?
or off your closing costs. Yeah. So that's the nice thing about a buy down is because that money doesn't get wasted.
Mm.
Now, if you
So
never,
it's
go ahead.
almost like you're almost it's almost like an insured bet, if that makes sense. You get the
It
advantage
is.
of it, but you don't have the risk of it because the money doesn't disappear if you get to use it in that way. If that
Correct.
makes sense.
So if you don't use it, yes, it'll come off. I think it comes off the principal balance,
Mm.
or it'll look towards your closing costs. So you don't lose it. You don't get it back in your pocket. But
Yeah.
again, at least it's not lost. And if you never use it, well, then you got the benefit of the lower interest rate for those 3 years. So either way, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So I've seen people do that, but it is a cost. So somebody has to pay for it, either the buyer or the seller, but somebody will pay for that to get the lower rate for them.
Yeah.
Another incentive to kind of throw this to go along with this, we also have an incentive right now where if you purchase a home and settled by March 31st of this year, 2023, when you go to refinance and you have up until December of 2024, we will cover the lender costs. Just
Really?
because yes, we know the interest rates are going to drop. And, we just want to be there for our clients because movement does hold probably majority of the mortgages. We can't hold the special programs like the
Mhm.
PHFA or sometimes some of the jumbo programs, but any of the other programs that we can do and we hold, we will offer that for them. So I know a lot of people that I have pre-approved right now are out there, looking for a house because they do want to try to get in by the end of March, just so they can take advantage of that incentive.
That's smart. I assume you guys run programs like this periodically. So by the time you're listening to this, maybe in the future, By the way, do they have flying cars yet? Or if you're listening to this in the future and you're past that deadline, don't feel discouraged, reach out. I'm sure there's other advantages. Essentially, there isn't a one size fits all situation, is what I like to tell people, right?
Right. We actually have another program right now. This is go back to the
Uh,
first home buyers that if you currently live, and I know we're in the Lehigh Valley, but they can purchase anywhere. But if they currently live, if they're a first time home buyer and they live in a certain town section of Philadelphia,
mhm.
Camden, New Jersey, or Wilmington, Delaware, they could possibly qualify for up to $8,000 towards their closing costs.
Why
So
is that?
that's because we have this special program for them. It's actually up and down the East Coast. There's some other
Okay.
cities such as Atlanta. They're looking for more of the suburbs. Now, New York has not been added to that list. I've had a lot of people ask me, what about like New York City? Unfortunately, I think it's because it might be a little bit too big. So that's not one of the cities yet, nor is any of the cities in the Lehigh Valley. I also checked Reading, and that city isn't coming up either, but it has to be Philadelphia, like Camden, and Wilmington. Those are the 3 closest cities. Baltimore, I think, is another city, but they can move from there and move towards the Lehigh Valley. So that's another incentive. They don't have to purchase then in Philadelphia or Camden or Wilmington, as long as that's where they have to currently live.
Okay. So it's another example of the what's the word I'm looking for? The adaptability in of having a knowledgeable loan officer that can kind of copy paste or not copy paste, but look through all of these programs and advantages and find the best ones for you. Just like
Well, and I think
get one with a house.
yeah, exactly. Exactly, Mike. If somebody says, "Okay, I just want a house with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths," I'm sure you do a lot more homework than just plug that in and find every house like that. There's a lot more
Yeah, it's their
involved, I'm
wants and
sure.
needs and so what I've been finding is a lot of people are hung up on the percentage of the interest rate, right?
Are
Again,
you gonna say the saying or am I? Marry the house, date the rate?
oh, I wasn't even thinking of that, but
Yeah, I
yeah,
see that
that's a
everywhere.
classic
There's
classic saying. Yeah, it's most important for not obviously your monthly payment for your budget has to make sense and that you love the house. What happens in your situation? So a lot of these examples that you're giving for first time home buyers that are maybe a little afraid of moving forward because of the extra cost of the high interest rates. I keep putting quotes because if you look at it statistically, we're actually not high. We're right about average actually, maybe a little bit below average.
You
But
are absolutely correct.
so
Well, when I started, it was 10%. So
people still bought
5, 6,
houses, right?
these are great.
Yeah. What in the 1980s it was up to like 7 13,
Yeah,
14. And people
18,
stopped
18%.
that was what I was about to say, and then I stopped myself.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Um,
sounds insane. That's why.
yeah,
It's so
I was like I was taken aback, I'm like, "No, I'm over exaggerating," and then I realized I wasn't when you said that. So, yeah, people still bought houses, right? So, I
yeah,
mean, the point is bury what you said, marry the house, date the rate. Find a
exactly.
program that's gonna make you feel comfortable moving forward, and it's good that you shared some of these programs. Is there any more you wanted to touch on before we start wrapping
Well,
things up, or do you wanna keep
yeah, one more thing I'd like to tell people just because if it, if they're still contemplating and not ready to, jump the fence and, buy a house now,
Mhm.
the one thing that we're seeing, and I do listen to a lot of podcasts and read different articles, but like I said, by the middle of this year, we're being told the rates are going to probably start taking a dip. And I think once that happens, a lot of people are, going to get off the fence or come out of the woodwork and start wanting to buy. And I do think that we may see again, where people are going to have multiple offers or going over the asking price. And
Mhm.
I know you and I have both seen 25, $50,000 over the asking price. It was insane.
Waiving
But
inspections, all this stuff?
exactly. So I do think we're gonna see that again, but the
Yeah.
one race that we have to offer our clients, and it's good for agents who wanna use it for their listings, but for a buyer, who's going in and let's say the house is listed at 300 and they know that there's multiple offers, and you said to them, listen, I see comps out there for 320, 325. We have a program, we call it the report card, and I can plug in the property address and it will give the forecasted 5-year appreciation on that house. So they might say, oh, all right, we'll go up to 310. But over the next 5 years, they might, their house may appreciate for 50, 60, $80,000. When
Yeah.
the buyers see that, it definitely puts their mind at ease going, all right, I don't mind going $10,000 over. It's going to increase our mortgage payment, maybe $50. But over the next, 5 years, we might get 50 to $80,000 back in appreciation.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is absolutely that's
There's
where I
just
have
more different programs and
yeah.
incentives going on right now. It's hard for me to keep up. But like you mentioned before, when you talk to somebody that knows what they're doing, like my pre-approvals do not happen in 2 minutes. And it's
Mhm.
because I go through every program to see what my client could qualify for. Even if they didn't say, "Hey, I want to go FHA, I want to go USDA." I go through and I see what they all qualify for, and then I go back to them.
You're
And then I
saying
say,
they don't type in a couple unverified numbers on a website that instantly pops up? You're
"No,
saying it takes time to do this research?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
never would
yeah,
have
it's
thought.
not fast like a rocket."
Oh, don't sue me.
No, but it does. It takes time, and
Yeah.
the other thing is too, if we do get back to that situation where there's multiple offers, again, now most sellers are going to want conventional offers.
Mhm.
Now these buyers that were maybe pre-approved FHA, can they go conventional? So, now I can't stress enough how now is the time to buy. I have friends that are like, well, we're thinking maybe this summer. I'm like, you better think now. This summer, I think it's gonna get a little crazy again, which
It
I'm not complaining.
also depends on their personal situation. So, like,
Right.
why are they looking to move? Are they just looking to move because I don't know, they think they might feel like it? Because then they'll that there's not a lot of pressure there. But if you're moving for a job, yeah, you should put your best foot forward. Make your real estate dream team. Get not
Yeah.
only the most important, in my opinion, is the real estate agent. I have a little bias there, but second most important still
It's important, very important.
oh, the most. But the second most important is the loan officer title and everybody else that makes my job go smoothly.
Well, you're the quarterback. We're just, I don't know, maybe am I the linebacker, maybe?
Yeah, yeah. And what would title be like defenseman? All right. Well, thank you so much for being on, Michelle. Right before we
Thank you.
go, everybody's first time on here, I always ask, what is your favorite part of living in the Lehigh Valley?
I think because we're just so close to everything. If I wanna spend the day and go down to Philadelphia, if I wanna go up to New York City,
Hmm.
or do I wanna go up to the Poconos and see the beautiful leaves changing colors in the fall? I think honestly, that's it. I could go to the beach. I could go skiing. We're close to everything. This really is the perfect hub. And I think that's why the real estate market in the Lehigh Valley has never really crashed, like California or Florida.
Very isolated because we have all of that. Yes.
Yes. So we're very fortunate. And I think that's why a lot of people stay.
Is that why you stayed?
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time.
Well, thank you for your input. It's actually funny that that's a common theme. A lot of people love how close we are to everything, and we don't really lack for it either. Is crazy. It's
No.
like most of the time you give up something for something like that, but we're home values are good. We're isolated in the market. We're close to a lot of things, and we got good entertainment locally. So I don't know. I think for the best of all worlds, move to
I
move,
think so.
move to the Lehigh Valley. Plug. They should pay me.
Yeah.
All
There
right.
you go.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on, Michelle. Any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
Well, I don't know when this is being aired, but buy now. I
Uh,
can't stress that enough.
It should be coming out in the next couple of weeks, but even when they listen to it, I mean, it's buy now if it makes sense for your personal situation, no matter what the
Absolutely.
market is. Buy land, they're not making it anymore. All right, have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.